If you were with me yesterday, welcome back. Anybody now that the room is getting a little full, anybody was here yesterday at my session? Okay, good. All right, so make sure you guys can see everything. So I want to see where the screen down is. There it is. All right, first, welcome. I'm really glad you guys are here. How many of you have heard of Slangman before? How many of you have never heard of me? Oh, you may not forget me now. Okay, so I'm called Slangman. Slangman. And I'm over-articulating that because I was on CNN, international live news, and the producer handed the anchor live international news. Your next guest is going to be David Burke, and the producer told him, Slangman, I write books on slang. He misunderstood. And this very excited anchor said, we have a really interesting guest with us now. This is an author who writes books on slime. He's called Slangman. Let's welcome him. And he was so excited. He said, so tell us about slime. What got you into writing books on slime? And there I was on live news. Did I mention international news? I said, that's Slangman. I write books on slang. Not slime, slang. And he goes, oh, what about it? I'm like, well, time of death of this interview is 10:01 a.m. So, Slangman. So we're very clear on who I am. Okay, there it is. Yes, yeah, not slime man. Just again, want to make it very clear. Isn't that a great illustration? So who I am the only author and the only publisher who writes books on idioms and slang. Textbooks with reading, writing, listening, speaking exercises. 78 tracks of audio programs are in each book. The students get a QR code, and dozens of videos. And the main video, I'm going to totally brag, the main video updates every day. Every freaking day. Where I say, okay, here's the slang I heard on TV today. So I love when teachers come up to my booth and they say, well, how do I know your books are up to date? Because they update every day. I also have a series on everyday business slang. Anybody teach business English? Workplace? Kind of? She just went like that? Kind of. So everyday business, workplace idioms and slang. So if someone says to you, you have the floor in a meeting, you know what that means. If someone says, let's get cracking, you'll understand that. So I mentioned we have audio programs and videos. My background is in TV and film, so all my books are heavy video. I also have a podcast, which I'm really excited about. We're relaunching it, called Slinging the Slang. This is a podcast. Again, when you get into my ecosystem of Slangman, you get videos, audio, podcast, a new app. So I make sure I really support the teachers on idioms and slang. So I'm all over the place. If you get TikTok, I'm on twice a day, live at 5, online at 9. And that's how I get my slang from the teens. I have all these teens who come online with me, and that surprised me because I thought teens were going to hate me. Hate me, because who am I? I'm older than they are. They love that someone older than them is making them the teacher. And every time I go on talk shows, I'll be going on Kelly Clarkson next month and Drew Barrymore. And so I go online, live, and say, help me here. I need 10 of your top slang words. I'm going to give you some of the top teen words that you need to know as a teacher because your students will be coming into your classroom with new slang. So why me? Why am I the guy who writes books on slang? Because I understand your students. I was an ESL student myself in reverse. So I was brought up in a family where 7 languages were spoken because my parents are from Europe and that's just normal. So French was the language I really gravitated towards. So I have a native Parisian French accent. And I went to school to further my French studies. Then I go to France to stay with my family for a summer. And I'm thinking, they're going to be so impressed because I speak French just like they do. They understood me, but during dinner, I understood nothing. Nothing. You've all heard the word bonjour, right, for hello? No one says that. Bonjour in France, wesh. That's how they say it. No one says, how are you? comment allez-vous? Again, wesh, or ça va, or ça boum, ça gaz, ça gazouille. It's not the French I learned from my father or in school. So I had learned a little bit of slang when I first got there the first day. So that night, my first dinner there, I run up the stairs so I wouldn't be late for dinner, and my aunt says to me, and you'll appreciate this, we have someone from Haiti who, of course, speaks French, and we'll see if you say the same thing in Haitian French. My aunt, I was doing this, I ran up the stairs, my aunt said, David, what's wrong? And I said, oh, I am in great heat for your body by accident. It turns out in French, you can't say, je suis très chaud. No, you have to say, j'ai très chaud. Then my uncle, he comes in and says, bonjour. And I thought I would say something in slang. And I said, I meant to say, salut. And I accidentally said, salaud, you dirty, rotten, slithering bastard. He appreciated that. And this is all by accident. All by accident. And then, to make matters worse, at the end of the dinner, my aunt says, so, David, would you like some more food? And I said, no, thank you. I am extraordinarily pregnant. In French, you cannot say, je suis plein. You have to say, je n'ai plus faim. I am no longer hungry. So I made some very large mistakes. So, and this is part of what we're going to talk about. Making these, being obscene unintentionally is a big part of some mistakes some teachers have done that I found out in my last session, which I'm going to share with you. It's really fun. So I wrote a survival guide for myself when I was in France so I wouldn't make so many mistakes. It was the only way for me to connect with the people. And I got to tell you, I know what your students are going through. I was that student when I would be sitting watching TV with my French family. They're watching TV and laughing, and I'm thinking, I'm fluent. I understood nothing. I'm sitting there going, what's so funny? What's so funny? And they kept having to explain to me and explain to me. And after a while, I just stopped asking them what things meant because it was like every other word. So that is why I got into American slang. So what happened after writing these books on French slang, and then I wrote books on Spanish slang, Italian slang, German slang, slang in different languages, I never thought about writing books on American slang. And maybe you'll be able to relate to this. So I'm at the gym with a French friend of mine, Pascal. And a guy comes up to him and says, hey, Pascal, what's up? And Pascal looks up and starts checking out the ceiling. And I'm like, oh, no, Pascal, that's just American slang. Like, what's shaking, what's going down, what's cooking? He's like, what? And then, to make matters worse, his friend then said, so, Pascal, did you hear how the Italian soccer team licked the French team? And his face froze. I'm thinking, what happened? Then suddenly I got the visual he got. So in American slang, to lick someone means to beat them in a competition. So I took his hand and I said, you just gave birth to a whole new line of books. I never even thought about American slang. So I run home. Ma, I'm going to start writing books on American slang. And my mother says, American slang? We don't use that much slang. Come on. Come on, Ma. That's slang. And she goes, no way. That's slang, Ma. Oh, knock it off. That's slang, Ma. And she said, maybe we do use a lot of slang. She didn't even realize it. So that's why I created the new series on American slang. And I always tell students, people who are non-natives, to come on down. Oh, you can come closer. I'm only going to take volunteers in the seat where you're sitting. You have some more people coming in. So I always tell students, if you don't know idioms and slang, my dramatic presentation now, you don't know English. And that's just how it is. And it was really interesting. There are 6 big publishers here, big ones. They're really big, who want to partner with me because they recognized. It was really exciting for me. Again, no one specializes in slang and idioms because on the big pyramid of marketing, at the bottom of the pyramid are the beginner books. That's what the biggest market is. They have thousands of people working with them. It's me and just a few other people. So I like being the intermediate and advanced level people. I like to be that guy who says, okay, here's how we really speak. And it's been really exciting. As you'll see, if you don't teach idioms and slang, it's like teaching someone how to drive with just the accelerator and not the brake. There's another side to our story, right? Idioms and slang. We all use them, every age. Last year at COABE, this teacher, now I fell in love with her after a while, but who was at COABE last year? Oh, do you remember my booth where I was? I was in the Here's right. Remember that? Here's the entrance. I was in the far, far, far back, facing a wall, this far away from a wall, and there was a wall built behind me. So when people would walk in, they would not see me. They would see a wall. So I always asked for forgiveness, not permission. I took the wall down, put lights on the other side so people would find me. So I'm thinking, how are people going to find me without doing something weird, which I did? And then this woman helped me. She came up to the booth and said, "How dare you write books on slang?" And I'm like, what? She said, "We need to keep English clean and pure. How dare you?" She got so angry, people started to come to the booth. And I'm thinking, keep it down. No. What else did I say? Tell me more. She got so angry, I must have had 50 people around my booth. And then she finally said, "Teaching slang is terrible. How dare you? I would never use slang ever in my speech. And people like you piss me off." And I just froze and said, "I'm sorry, what?" "That's slang." And she said, "No, it's not." Like, "Yeah, it is." She thought, and maybe some of you might think this too, she thought slang meant dirty words, right? Is that what? I think a lot of people think that. And I discovered that because when I write to some people, David@slangman.com, sometimes I'm filtered to the junk because it's like saying David@dirty guy. Slang is not dirty words. Let's be very clear. Slang is informal language spoken by members of particular groups used to establish identity and exclude outsiders. How many of you have teens? Okay, so you know what that feels like, right? But I'm going to let you in on a couple secrets of the new slang teens are using. What is an idiom? A group of words, each having their own meaning, but together they have a collective meaning. To put up for the night. Well, I'm going to put you up for the night. Let you sleep over. So slang is not dirty words. Dirty words are a different category within slang. Okay, we're going to talk about a few things real quick. We must teach students two things when it comes to slang: what we speak, which is the slang, the idioms, and how we speak, all the gunners and wouldas and shouldas and contractions and reductions. So that'll be the first thing. Contractions, reductions, accents, regionalisms. How many people now here are from the South? We have 1, 2, 3. Anybody? Just 3 people? That's it? 3? Okay, that's okay. I'm going to be testing you in a minute. Grunts, initials, intonation, gestures, speaking wrong intentionally, being obscene unintentionally. And this is an important one. I don't mean to be obscene, dirty, gratuitously, but there's a point to what I'm going to be telling you, I promise. And then the 10 top ways to teach idioms and slang. Actually, let me tell you a quick joke that only a teacher of ESL would understand, and there's a reason I'm explaining this. I'm not being gratuitously naughty. Quick 10-second joke. And for you Southerners, you'll really feel it. A woman walks into a diner, sits down, and the waitress comes over and says, "Hi there, hun, what'll you have?" And the patron says, "I'd like a steak, French fries, and a Coca-Cola, please." And the waitress says, "Well, where y'all from?" And the woman says, "From a place where we don't end our questions with a preposition." And the waitress says, "Alrighty. So where y'all from, bitch?" Now, the reason I explain that, you guys, only teachers would understand what prepositions are. Now, the reason I'm saying that, I had a teacher yesterday who was really offended that one of her students said this to her. She said that my student called me a bitch. And I said, "Well, just like that?" Well, she said, "No, she said, you're a bad bitch." I said, "You've been complimented. That's a compliment. You bitch, that's not so good. A bad bitch is." And so I talked to a lot of people in the correctional facilities where bitch, "Oh, no, you didn't." That's like the worst you can say, but a bad bitch is good. So that's why certain things you think are naughty and dirty and mean are actually really good and great. If I tell you, your class is disgusting, and I'm a teen, doesn't get better than that. It's disgusting. You know how bad means good? Well, disgusting is even better. So that's why we're here. All right. Contractions and reductions. This is so confusing. Last year at TESOL, this is real life. At noon, around lunchtime, I'm talking to these 2 girls from Brazil, and their English was just incredible. So my friend Alan, who was working the booth with me, came up to me while I was speaking with these 2 girls and said, "Excuse me, David G-Chet?" And I said, "Oh no, Jew?" He said, no, not yet. Want to go grab a sandwich later? And I said, you betcha. And the girl said, whoa, hold it. Was that all slang? And I thought about it. Not one single word was slang. G-chet? How many of you understand that? G-chet? Yeah, G-chet? Did you eat yet? G-chet? And I'm vindicated because in Los Angeles and in New Jersey, last year they opened up a restaurant called Jeet. Jeet? No, not yet. No, no Jew? No, did you? Again, all these contractions. Nuh-uh, not yet. No, not yet. Now, this is an interesting one. And a lot of you teachers may say, no, you're wrong. But then you'll say, oh, yeah, I guess you're right. My video on TikTok went viral on Wango. I know the reduction of do you want to is wanna? Wanna go grab a sandwich? We do say Wango when we say it fast. Wanna go grab a sandwich? Want to come over? Want to come over later? Wong. Wong is how we actually say it when we say it fast. How many of you say sandwich? Sandwich. San? Raise your hand if you say san. Okay, only one? Sandwich? Two. Oh, okay, now four. Don't be shy. You don't have to be shy with me, believe me. How many of you say sandwich? I want to know, sandwich. No, sandwich. You say sandwich. One person says sandwich. And the rest of you say sandwich. So we have different ways of saying it. So when you haven't heard sandwich, that's pretty bizarre. And by the way, to my surprise, the deaf community has adopted my books because they can't lip read our reductions, contractions, and our slang. Oh, that's lip read in sign language. So sandwich is hard to lip read. Sandwich, the way some of you would pronounce it, they could understand. Okay, that's contractions and reductions. Accents. Anybody here from New York? Oh, darn. Okay, I'm mentioning this because Boston, anybody? Boston? Boston's not in the house? All right, we live next door to a guy from Boston, across the street from a guy from New York, and my father walked outside and asked Ralph from Boston, oh, who's your barber? And Ralph from Boston said, my baba? And the guy from New York said, no, it's Baba, my Baba. So we had a barber baba conversation. And as a kid, hearing all these, I heard Russian, Polish, French, Hungarian, I heard all these languages. So I'm trying to process now accents. So you guys tell me what I did wrong here. This is an accent issue. And all right, I call my cousin Jill, who is from Queens. I call her at the North Shore Animal League. And the woman picks up the phone and says, North Shore Animal League, may I help you? And I said, yes, I'd like to speak with Jill. And she said, I'm sorry, Jill's not here. Would you like to leave a message? And I said, sure, just tell her David called. And she said, got it. Is that with a C or a K? And I said, tell her David called. She said, I heard you the first time, sir. Is that with a C or a K? Do you know what I did wrong? Anybody? All of a sudden I got it. I said, please tell her David called. She goes, oh, you called? Why didn't you say so? Called. So called and cold are two totally, utterly different words. Accents. So Southernisms. Speaking of accents. Now for me, the Southern accent I find so incredibly amazing. Oh, I learned something. Who's from Dallas? Anybody from Dallas? Okay, am I right? Someone told me there's a Dallas expression, two of them, because of the weather. This guy said, it is raining harder than a cow pissing on a flat rock. Is that popular? It's raining harder than a cow pissing on a flat rock. And then he said, that guy is all hat and no cattle. He said that's a Dallas expression, just all talk and that's it. So I'm trying to learn my Southern. We talked about you guys. Yesterday I asked some people, excuse me, can you guys tell me where there's a good barbecue place nearby? And they said, you're from Los Angeles. Because I said you guys. So here, I know you say y'all, Pennsylvania is yuns, yuns, and Los Angeles is just you, and you guys. New York is yous, yous. So I'm just curious, y'all from the South, now how do you pronounce dog? Just dog? Oh, say it again? Oh, that's different. That's different. I'm hearing, okay, you said dog, you said dog. Okay, I was convinced when I first got here that no single syllable words existed in the South. Like dog, everything was like stretched out with a twang, with a with a drawl, which to my ears is just so pretty. In fact, I found this so funny. I have a customer who calls me like every couple of months and says, "Hi, David, this is Maggie from the Mississippi bookstore." And I always tell her, "Maggie, all you have to say is hi." And I know who it is. I know who you are. But she always has to say the whole Mississippi bookstore. I love that. It just stretches it all out. Okay, so here's the question. I'm going to test you Southerners. And if you aren't from the South, since you're in Texas, I think it's only fair that you learn the accent. What does that mean? What? Well done. You got fired last week from your job. You got fired. Very good. I got fired. All right. Someone got it. All right. How about this one? Exactly. Hail no. Hail no. Right? Am I right? Hail. This one. My neighbor from Dallas says this. What? Say it. No, not awful tired. No. It's that big monument in Paris. The Eiffel Tower. Yeah, she says Eiffel Tower. She calls it the Eiffel Tower. Yeah, Eiffel Tower. This one, you have to know this one. And this is what she says also. She's from Dallas. Ass burn. Well, that's what yes, that's what you take when you get a headache. You take some aspirin. Right. Aspirin. And she says that. And as a little kid growing up next door to her, believe me, it was really funny. I have a twin also. This is another one of me running around wild. No more than you wanted to. Yes, so we were always laughing our ass burns off about her ass burn. There's something you guys, that y'all do in the South that I just love. Oh my God, you got it. You got it. The 3 words that you have to say before any insult, and that insult can be really mean. Either 3 words before or after that insult, and what is it? Exactly, she got it. Bless her heart. You can say whatever you want. That woman is a total idiot. Bless her heart. Now, we do something really awful in California, and I hate this. I hate when people do this. Nothing personal, but then you go in deep. As long as you say that, yeah, don't take any offense, but and then you're off to the races. But I love the bless her heart. Bless your heart. Okay, regionalisms. So there was someone in my session yesterday. I had New York represented. I had Boston. So in Boston, a regular coffee. What does a regular coffee mean to you? In LA, a regular coffee is just coffee black, a regular coffee. Not in Boston. It is always cream and sugar. That's a regular coffee. Regionalisms. My friend from New York, when I was visiting her, we arrived at Grand Central. She had to use the restroom. There was a Starbucks next door. And she said, "David, go get me a coffee light." And I said, "What? Go get me a coffee light? What do you mean, what? What? Coffee? Anybody know what that means? It's a New York term." Well, what's that? No, it's not a latte. So, New Yorkers, outspoken. She even said to the woman next to us, "Excuse me, you're from here? You are? Tell him what a coffee light is." And she said, "Half coffee, half cream. What else?" That's in LA, when you say light, we interpret that as LITE, light in calories. So coffee light is black. Okay. Oh, the shoes that you use that are really casual looking, you probably can't see mine. Okay, I'll just say, do you say tennis shoes or sneakers? How many say tennis shoes? You do? Okay, that's very LA. How many of you say sneakers? Sneakers. Half the room says sneakers. There was a woman in my room yesterday. You say tennis. What kind? Oh, you say gym shoes. Gym. Where are you from? Chicago. Oh, Chicago. We're gonna talk about Chicago. I love that accent. To me, again, that's charm. We have Chicago in the house. So we had someone from the Philippines yesterday. They say rubber shoes. All right. Okay, is it true? Tell me, in the South, I went to a restaurant and asked, the waitress asked me what kind of Coke I want. I said, well, I figured cherry, vanilla. She said, no, what kind of Coke? 7-Up? So Coke is any kind of soft drink. Okay, how many people say soft drink? How many people say, I'll say it like you would, pop? Pop. A few people say pop. Well, is there any other way to say it? Oh, soda. That's interesting because in LA, soda is like carbonated, but like soda water. It has no flavor. I love that. We talked about that. Now, here's something that I find really, really, really interesting. There's something that is normal to every native speaker of English, and it's not normal to somebody who is not a native speaker. I'm going to say it, and you raise your hand if you understand me, okay? It's just a grunt. You don't? Well, let me explain. Yeah, it means, I don't know. We think of the most musical language as being Italian, right? Italiano, la lingua musicale. English is very musical. So musical that when we take the phrase I do not know, contract it to I don't know, reduce it to I don't know always has a melody. I don't know. So that's really normal. But there's another one. And if you have a teen, you've seen it, and you text it I-O-N-O. I don't know. Not I don't know. There's no T. I don't know. I-O-N-O. Really popular. And this one I love. Duh. Well, you can't say duh. You have to say duh. All right? You have to have that melody. It means, that's stupid. Of course. Duh. You can't say duh, duh. No, that doesn't make sense. Duh. And now I'm going to date some of you. The last one. So when I was a tour guide, at the exit of Universal Studios, exit/entrance, we get assigned there once every week. So there's a girl standing next to me from Pakistan, another tour guide, and somebody walked up and said, David Burke, I was just thinking about you. And I did this. Do, 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 do. Raise your hand if you understand me. At home, do you, right? And if you don't, it's understandable. It's from the Twilight Zone, which was back in the 60s, where it was like a really scary, weird kind of TV show. Every time something weird happened, you'd hear this music. Do, 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 do. Then you know that something really bizarre is happening. And by the way, the star of it, Rod Serling. How many of you know the name? How many of you know Rod Serling? Have you heard that name? Okay. He used to come to our house to play poker with my parents. And tell me if it was very creepy when we would see Rod Serling come into our house. It's like, you don't know as a kid, is something really weird going on here? But luckily it wasn't, except they were all playing some kind of weird card game. Confusing English. This is another one that I love. Somebody at my today, I forgot where she was from. From Spain. She said the word few, talking about the number of people at her session. And I said, were there few, very few, or quite a few? Opposite day. She knew what very few meant, didn't know what quite a few meant. It's confusing. Coming here, I took an Uber. I'm constantly taking notes. Coming here to LAX in Los Angeles, I told the Uber driver, he was not a native English speaker. We're at a traffic light of, it's Lincoln Boulevard, which takes you to LAX. And I said, turn left right here. And he looked in the rearview mirror and said, what? I said, no, you turn left right here. Left, right, what? He turned the wrong way. And it made me think again, I'm always kind of thinking how non-native speakers of English hear our language. And I'm a big fan of, do you remember George Carlin? Anybody know that name? Okay, I got to tell you, kind of maybe not a brag, but this meant everything to me. I was on KFWB Morning Show News. I get home, it's live, my phone's ringing, I pick it up, and I hear a guy say, hi, David Burke, this is George Carlin, I just saw you on TV. And I said, uh-huh. And he goes, no, it really is George Carlin. I said, do your oxymoron routine. Go. That jumbo shrimp. He did it. He asked me to send him a book. He gave me his address, and like an idiot, I sent him a book. Instead of saying, no, I'm not going to send it. I'm going to bring it to you. I don't know why I didn't do it. George Carlin was you park in a driveway, you drive on a parkway. A house burns down as it burns up. He was brilliant with English. I got a lot of inspiration from him. So I'm going to move on to something here. This just hit me one day. Is there another word for synonym? I don't know. That's where my mind goes. Anybody know? Is there another word for synonym? There should be, right? I mean, after all, synonym. All right. Here's another aspect of our language that I love. This sounds like English to all of us. If I said to you, FYI, the CEO wants you to pick up a BLT and an OJ for the VP ASAP, okay? That sounded totally normal. But when you break it down, it sounds like code. For your information, the chief executive officer wants you to pick up a bacon, lettuce, tomato, very popular sandwich here, and an orange juice for the vice president as soon as possible, okay. Code. That's not even slang, but it is informal communication, so maybe we could kind of sort of categorize it like that, or just simply initials as its own category. Military initials. What's that one about snafu? Isn't that? I think that's military. Yeah, snafu is military. Well, yes, that means situation, normal, all. Okay, and we are educators. All the doors are open. Well, whatever. Yeah, situation, normal, all fucked up. At some point, people are going to be like, what's going on in there? And we haven't even started. We're going to get to being obscene unintentionally because this is a really important part of all this. If I said this to my mom or dad growing up, shut up, I wouldn't be here right now. But this is super popular. Have you heard this? Shut up. It just means no. Really? Wow. Have you heard that one? I mean, I would be kind of offended, right? If you didn't know what that meant and someone said, shut up. Well, that's how you say, wow, really? Interesting. It's like the word right. It means two different things. As growing up speaking French, there's no intonation really to change the meaning of a word. Like you can't really say, like the word right, vraiment. Vraiment. You have to add something to it. Oh, vraiment. We don't change the meaning with intonation. You have to add words to it. Like that's funny. That's funny. That's funny. In the Philippines, anytime you get tech support in the Philippines, they do something in the Philippines that's extremely polite, but it's rude to us. Yes, sir. Okay, I'll get right on it, sir. I'm so sorry having that trouble. I'm so sorry. That's polite. That is polite intonation in the Philippines. Super polite. And there's a lot of miscommunication because Americans get offended. Sometimes the cultures don't connect too well, and there can be issues. Speaking wrong intentionally. So my mom speaks 5 languages or 6, and because she's a non-native speaker of English, her English is super, super correct. Every time I'd knock on the door, and she'd say, who is it? It's me. She'd say, I'm not opening up the door until you say it correctly. Ma, I'm not going to say, it is I. Although we know that's, I guess, correct English, nominative case after to be. That's how I was brought up, analyzing and constantly analyzing. And tell me what I did wrong here. So my best friend from the Philippines, I wanted him to pick me up at the airport from the TESOL conference a few weeks ago. And I said, wait, can't you pick me up from the airport? He goes, David, yes, I told you yes. Yes. Okay, great. Well, I arrived at the airport then 2 days later, and he wasn't there. And I called him. I said, okay, I don't get it. We had this conversation. He said, I know, David. You said, can't you pick me up from the airport? And I said, yes, I can't. Yes, I can't. Now, in French, as you know, we have that, if I say to you, don't you like the spaghetti? If you say, yes, that means, yes, I don't like the spaghetti. In French, they'll say, si. Si is the yes, yes, yes version of oui. I mean, of course I do. We don't have that. So sometimes we have to go in for clarification. And my favorite is, do you mind if I sit here? Sure. That's what everybody says, but it's wrong. If you ask me if you can sit next to me and I say, sure, you're going to sit there? Probably. If you're a non-native speaker, you might be insulted and say, oh, fine, I won't. Do you mind? Sure, I mind. The answer should be no. Anyway, it is my responsibility as Slangman to let you know what the newest, most popular slang is. And if you know something that's even more recent, let me know. Something tells me you're going to know what this means. No cap. Who's heard of that? No cap. I knew you were going to raise your hand. Just a few people. No cap is super popular. It means no lie. No lie, no cap. And now it's a verb. Are you capping? You capping? You lying? I promise you, you will hear it. You may have heard it without even realizing that you heard it. It's really popular. My jit comes from, I hear this all the time in my sessions online. They say, hey, how you doing, my jit? My friend, my pal, my jit. It came from Florida, and then it kind of trickled out to the west. My jit, my friend. This one is really weird. Yeah, bussin'. That food was bussin'. How many of you heard that? Bussin'. Okay, it was number one in 2024. Now the teens are telling me it is dead, gone, left, right? It's old. Then they were saying that party is fire. But did you hear how long that took me to say fire? Too long. Now they just say fi. That party is fi. Fire just takes too long. Everything in slang is about shortening it, shortening it, shortening it. So now fi. And we talked about disgusting, just like sick. Oh, that party is sick. Oh, that dress is sick. Sick and disgusting are great. FAFO. We're seeing this everywhere now. What's that? Yeah, exactly. We're educators. We can say it. Fuck around and find out. It means if you do something stupid and then you complain to me and say, I made a big mistake, well, FAFO. You made a mistake. Now, I don't know if this is a common term or not. This thing drives me crazy. The last one. How many of you know what vocal fry is? Okay, this drives me nuts. The Kardashians started it, and the teens are running with it. So vocal fry is like talking like this, and it indicates that you're so cool. You just don't care that much. And I'm hearing it all the time. And there are new AIs out there that will chat with you, like Sesame.com, which is like number one. It's like a human being talking with you. But one of the AI robots, whatever you call them, well, hey, talk to you like this. Hey, David, how you doing? Because they think it's cool. It drives me crazy. So, what's that? What? Oh, sus? That's sus. Okay, someone just said that's sus. Okay, now there's a new meaning for that. Oh yeah, okay. Someone said that's sus. And anybody out there who has teens in your life may know this. Okay, what does that mean for you? That's sus. That's, yeah, suspect, suspicious. That's sus. Now for the teens, and ask your teens in your life, it means gay. That person is sus. And they constantly are changing the meanings to keep us confused. So that's what they say it means now. Okay, this one is really important because, again, I'm not saying these words to be gratuitously funny or anything. These are really important things to know. As teachers and for students, so they don't say the wrong thing, we've all heard the sheet cake and the shit cake, all that different sounds. You can just get yourself into trouble. Anybody ever been to Japan? Okay, so in France, maybe in Haiti, when you say cheers, do you say chin chin? What do you say? Santé, which means to your health. Okay, so I grew up in Europe, you say chin chin. So I went to Japan for a big book fair, and I did a book signing there. And this was even before I was called Slangman. In fact, a student ran up to me in Japan and said, oh, you're Slangman. Your books are real cool. They don't suck. So in one fell swoop, I became Slangman and had an advertising slogan that you should buy my books because they don't suck. Anyway, at this conference, on the way there, I'm with my Japanese family that I was staying with for a month. And we get to Shinjuku, which is the most crowded transfer station you can imagine. And everyone's elbow to elbow. It is packed. But the Japanese are very quiet. They're not loud Americans like I am. It was very quiet on this platform, but I mean it was packed. So the father of the family came over and gave his wife, his daughter and son, and me Coca-Cola. They opened them up, and they all said quietly, "Kampai." Well, I thought, well, if you're going to say something in a foreign language, so will I. And I yelled, "Chin chin!" Every head on that platform turned. Vroom, 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 vroom. And the father of the family said, "David, why did you just scream, penis, penis?" That's all it means. That's it. Nothing else. And in LA, we have a chain of restaurants called Chin Chin. And you see all these Japanese tourists taking pictures, taking the chopsticks, Chin Chin. So here's a real life situation. Number two, A teacher told me 2 days ago, and she was mortified when I brought this up. She teaches students from Turkey. And she said, they're always laughing at me because I have a habit of using the filler word a lot. I always say a lot. And they just think it's really funny. And I said, did they tell you what that means in Turkish? Because it means only one thing in Turkish. Again, we are educators, and this is something you need to know. Vagina. So every time she was saying, yesterday we went to the store, she was saying vagina, yesterday vagina went to the store. She had no idea. She was mortified. She'll never be using a filler word again. And it's interesting, we all use different filler words too. The Hispanic use M. In France, they use to think. In Japan, it's E. So we all have something different, but you never know what that might mean in another language. In fact, I remember when I lived in France, again, it was the weirdest thing for me. My sister and I went to the zoo, and all these kids are screaming, fuck, 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 fuck. And we couldn't understand, why are they screaming fuck? Because un fuck is a seal. That's how you say it in French. So again, if you don't know these things, you can get yourself into some trouble. In France, okay, so in front of our restaurants, you will see LA Bite magazine. LA Bite. In French, at least in Paris, in France, la bite means only one thing, the dick. So my family, when they visited, am I right? So my family in France were like, why are there porn magazines in front of all your restaurants? They had no idea what that was. They just thought that was hilarious because we have these things in the market, like mini bites, and they see that as something else. Anybody speak Spanish? Okay, you tell me what I did wrong. I was lucky enough to be invited to Argentina, and I did a presentation to 1,500 Argentine teachers. To get there, I had to take the bus. And I asked somebody, I guess in pretty good Spanish, I said, ¿Dónde puedo coger el autobús? Well, now I was taught, so you speak Spanish too. My friend from Haiti speaks French and English and Spanish. So I thought it meant to catch. Because in some countries, coger means to catch. Right? In Argentina, it means one thing. I asked everybody, where can I fuck the bus? I guess you have to say tomar, right? Or agarrar. Yep. So being obscene unintentionally, it can happen. So I'm just trying to prepare you. So when you're speaking with certain students, in fact, when I was in Paris, my teacher indicated on the blackboard like that with the finger. And all the American students were laughing because we do it with our index finger. And since we're on this subject, again, we're educators. I'm going to give you a tour of the finger because someone at my booth actually got insulted today. Anybody from England? Oh, because they flipped her off without them knowing about it. So I figured I would prepare you guys. So, ready? This is the tour of the finger. This is West Coast. Make sure people can see that at home. West Coast, East Coast, Saudi Arabia, France, Greece, Brazil. Yeah, if you make the AOK sign to someone in Brazil, be prepared to run. You don't want to do that. And the woman from England got upset because she asked the guy this morning, how many co-abs have you attended? And he goes like that, 2. And she screams, don't do that to me. That's the finger in England. Yeah. So, I'm telling you some things you kind of need to know. If you didn't know, I'm helping you avoid a really big situation. In France, if you eat with one hand in your lap, everyone's looking at you, especially at a restaurant. That's the rudest thing you can do. I grew up hearing elbows off the table. In France, it's like, get those. I want to see what's going on up here. They figure something's going on down below. So that's my tour for you. And also, speaking of being obscene unintentionally, when I was a tour guide at Universal Studios, this fascinated me. We know what code switching is from one language to the other. Well, one of the tour guides, and I didn't even know this was a thing, she spoke beautiful English, but her parents are deaf. So her first language was sign language, which I found fascinating. So she taught me how to give an entire tour. I pick up things fast, just because I do. She taught me how to do the whole tour in sign, even how to say to the entire group, we get 125 people in a tram. I don't know how to read sign language, but I can give you the tour in sign. Please don't ask me any questions. I knew how to do that. Well, by accident, and I think I was really set up for this by her. Anybody speak sign? We're going to learn together. So this 2 V's is very. I'm very happy, happy heart, very happy to meet you. Very happy to meet you. I did this. I went very happy to fuck you all. Whoopsie. Total accident. And everyone gasped. And they gasped and laughed because they knew, obviously, that I have an accent when I use sign language. And I guess that's a common mistake. That's meet. That's not. So you'll see, like, the guy who works at my booth with me, sometimes he'll do this to me. Fuck off. So I've taught him too much. Have you been to my booth? Anybody? Oh, if anybody says to me they haven't seen my booth, they haven't been in the exhibit hall. But yeah, right? Yeah. My booth has flashing lights all around it. It's as subtle as a garlic sandwich. Yeah, so I encourage you to come by. So again, we talked about the gestures. The last one, maybe you met her. Her name is Radi. She is here. She's from Bulgaria. She's this wonderful woman. And I put her in my presentation because as I was talking to her, she kept shaking her head, didn't agree with a thing I said about slang. And I finally said, Radi, which part do you not agree with? And she said, oh, I'm so sorry. In Bulgaria, this is yes and this is no. I want you guys to, seriously, I want you, everybody at home too, try it. Say yes and shake your head no. Try it. Say yes and shake your head no. And now say no and shake your head yes. Right? We're not wired for that. It's almost impossible. So I just love differences. So here's a big difference. And the woman from London today, she verified this. So it turns out, my name is David Burke. You don't want to be a Burke in England. It means a big jerk. Such a Burke. A ripe Burke is really, really bad. And so during my tour, my stint at Universal, I had 125 people from England. And I said something really innocent. A little girl stood up on the tram, and you're not allowed to stand up on the tram. You can get sued for that if they fall. So I said over the microphone, 125 Brits, I said, oh, I need you to set your fanny back down on the bench. And they all gasped. I leave a trail of gasps wherever I go. And I didn't know what I said. And fanny is just a little child's rear end, a fanny. So at the end of the tour, a woman came up to me who was crying with laughter. She had tears running down her face, and she said, my dear boy, do you have any idea what you said to all of us? I said, no. She said, in England, a fanny is a woman's very private part and a crude way to say it. And I was shocked. And she said, in fact, this morning, I was watching the news and they announced that some woman slipped in the snow and fell on her fanny. And I thought to myself, that's impossible. Unless, of course, she's a contortionist. And then she said, we went to Disneyland, and the Matterhorn, it said, for the safety of others, please remove your fanny pack. And I thought to myself, what an aggressive ride. A fanny pack. So this one is really going to surprise you. You're in a restaurant, you're in a diner, or in the South, you're in a diner. In the booth next to you are 2 people from England, and here's what you're going to overhear. You're going to hear Mr. Edwards and Mr. Stevens arrive at the restaurant, or diner in this case. Mr. Edwards says, hello, old cock. That's, hello, old friend. Very popular in England. I'm so glad you knocked me up and suggested we go to lunch. Well, knock you up means to knock on your door. In American slang, it means to get you pregnant. Do set your bum down. Of course, your bum now, we all know, is your butt. Set your bum down, make yourself homely. have you heard this one? Homely? Well, we know what homely means, right? Someone who's homely. I was on the Sharon Osbourne show when she had her talk show, and Sharon Osbourne brought in all of her own furniture. And when I sat down, she said, she didn't realize how she set me up for a great interview. She said, David, this is my own furniture. Isn't it homely? And I just froze for a second. The audience erupted in laughter, and Sharon looked at the audience and said, what's so funny? So I explained, it's homey in England. No, sorry. In England, when you say something's homely, it's homey. So isn't my set homey? So she had the wrong word, and it was hilarious trying to Americanize her after 50 years of her being here. Anyway, to move on, I do hope you're ready to eat. Mr. Stevens says, oh yes, I've been humping furniture all day long, and you know how that can make a person hungry. Humping means carry. Been carrying furniture all day. Well, keep your pecker up. In American slang, pecker is down there, and chin is pecker in England. Pecker. Keep your pecker up. I think one of those is our waitresses. My, but they both have enormous hooters. Nose. That's a hooter. Blow me. That means wow. Blow me. And these are things you would hear in England, and you'd wonder, what? Right? Here she comes now. Want a banger? Now, obviously, orally, hearing want a banger means, do you want to have sex with her? But a banger is a sausage. It's a banger. No, I'm afraid I can't. Last time I honked for hours. Honk means to throw up. They also would say, I shot the cat. And we have a lot of weird ways to say throw up, too. Teens told me, okay, this is teen slang, to speak to Huey on the great white phone. That's what I was told. Again, I'm just the messenger. Sorry for the delay, gentlemen. I had to find a new rubber. My old one has been used for about 100 times. It got worn out. A rubber in England means only one thing. An eraser. Who didn't know that? I'm just curious. Good, good. So I want to be able to teach you something you didn't know and avoid embarrassment for you, right? So that's a rubber. A rubber is an eraser, and that's all it ever means. Probably all it ever will. Mr. Edwards says, I'll just have a salad. I'm on a diet. And Mr. Stevens says, oh, what balls. What nonsense. What balls. I'm gobsmacked. I just put that in there because I love that word. Gobsmacked is shocked, surprised. I'm gobsmacked. You look fine, but have it your way. As for me, I'll just have some fairy cake and some spotted dick. Fairy cake is cupcake. Anybody taste that? The British spotted dick? It's a dessert made with sugar and cod liver oil. I mean, personally, but that's spotted dick, super popular. Canada, super popular as well. Spotted dick. What? No wine? No, no, no. Every time I get pissed, I crave a fag, and I've been having far too many of those lately. So pissed is, who knows what pissed is in England? Drunk. I got pissed last night, drunk. And a fag is a cigarette. So again, we can have some mistakes too, if we don't know. What's it? George Bernard Shaw said, we are two countries divided by a common language of English. And we kind of are in some ways. What time are we? Oh, we're doing okay with the time, right? So far, so good. Okay, so I want to take you on a little tour about my personal top 10 ways to teach idioms and slang in your classroom. And I'm also going to give, how many of you have not been by my booth yet for the free, what, do you say free? Free access to all my books? Who has not? Oh, you're going, oh. If you want free access to all my books, and anybody who buys books, the author is here to sign them, just saying. Please come by, really, free access to everything, everything. So, let me see if I can switch over to this. Yes, so I created a video for you guys. I thought it would be kind of fun. Just did this last week. Let's see if I can open this even bigger. I think I can, right? That keeps disappearing. Come back. I want to make this as big as I can. There it is, right there. Okay. This is a short video, only about 3 minutes long. These are my 10 ways to teach idioms and slang in your classroom. Now, yes, they follow my books. Why? Because I don't want you to have to reinvent the wheel. Again, as that ESL student in reverse, I know what I needed, and I know what your students need, and I know how to make it fun. I mean, as you can tell, I've got a lot of energy, and my books, as you'll see, look like fun comic books full of idioms and slang that we all use, everybody of every age. The teen slang, that's in a separate video that I update every single day. So here is my 10 ways to teach idioms and slang in your classroom. Here. And that's important to me. If you ever have any questions along the way, email me. I will always respond to you. And I listen to what the teachers and the students have to say. If there's something you want that you're not seeing, let me know. I'll put it in. In fact, I've had a teacher yesterday, she wanted me to do a whole series of phrasal verbs. I can, and I will, in my videos. So I am curious, before you leave, well, first, oh, actually, you know what? If you're not going to come to my session, my booth, if you don't have time, go here. This will give you free stuff. I'm sorry, for you watching at home, this will give you all the free stuff. So write this down, go to that website, you fill in the form, then we send you an email with a link for you to create a password, and then you'll have your own e-library. You'll be able to see every book I've written from cover to cover, all the audio programs, all the videos, everything. I'll leave that up for a second. And if you can come into my booth, you can also scan the QR code and see the books live and in person. Again, the two series, BizSpeak and StreetSpeak. As you can tell, I'm very passionate about this because I know what your students are frustrated about. And I know I keep saying this, but they spend all this money to come here and to take classes, and then we release them into the wild after years of studying English, and they can't understand us. It's an awful feeling for them. And I speak to students all the time. I do a lot of presentations for students. This is their main problem. I had one class of students, they asked me a question. I said, nope. And they raised their hands. What's a nope? They hadn't even heard that before. So that just kind of emphasizes that we all use slang and we don't even realize it. And I'm just curious, because I always add stuff to my presentation, if there's anything weird that's happened with you, a mistake you've made, or something your student has said that shocked you, surprised you, a gesture, a word you may have heard that meant something different in your own language, let me know. I love hearing the weird things. Anything weird? Anything you want to share? Nothing you want to share? Nothing weird ever happened? But yes, I'd love to hear it. That's a great comment. I'll repeat it for the people at home. There have been times where you've been talking about something and you'll say, and blah, blah, blah. And what was it on Seinfeld? Yada, yada, yada. Yada, yada, yada. Things we say that the students stop us and say, whoa, what was, I'm waving goodbye to somebody who I adore. Have a great trip home. And it's interesting, right? When they stop us, it makes you stop and think about your own language. It's like, I'm going to repeat this for the people at home. So the term like is really interesting. That filler word. And this is really weird for my family. To go means to speak. So I saw Nancy and I go, how are you? To be like means to speak. To be all means to speak. To be like all means to speak, and to be all like. So I walked over, I'm all, how are you? And I'm like, fine. And she's all, right? It's really confusing. And then we use it as a filler word. So like yesterday, I went to the store. In French, we use, I don't know if you do this in Haitian French, genre. Hier, genre, je suis allé. Do you do that also? Okay, so genre means gender. Gender. The French, that's the word for like. So like yesterday, I like genre. I guess we all have our little filler kind of words. I love that. Anybody else? Anything you want to share? Don't be shy. You don't have to be shy with me. Okay. So, yes. A quick question. What's that? I have a quick question. Oh, I think you're going to say, can I ask you a quick question? See, right? That would have been the question. See, I got you. So next time, yeah, raise your hand. It's funny. When we were being trained to do this, Steve Schmidt, if you've met Steve, he's really fun and really funny. Yeah, he asked everybody in the big room, anybody have a question, any question at all? And yeah, I, of course, said, yeah, why do chefs wear those really tall hats? I love kind of throwing a curveball, right? It's good slang, sports terms and slang. So thank you all for being here so much. Do pass, oh yes, a question. A quick question. So you're asking the question, where in my books, where would that slang fall? You got Ebonics, you got regional slang, all these different types of slang. So my books are all universal slang that everybody uses. To be ticked off, that's cool. To down a glass of water. Slang we all use. And I made sure it was universal slang. But my videos that update every day, I'll do regional slang. I will do, a lot of students say, they say black slang, and we then say, well, that's actually African American Vernacular English, AAVE, which is above, which they we try to keep it simple. But there are different levels of slang, and I try to cover everything in the videos that update every day. So universal slang is what my books are filled with. In the business books, I have things like, you have the floor, or let's get cracking. We all say, oh, you really dropped the ball. Normal slang that we don't even think of as slang. Again, back to my mom going, no way. Everyday slang. But I love the subculture slang, the regional slang. I mean, obviously, in the South, my best friend from Tennessee says, every time I call her, Shelly, how are you? I am finer than split silk, or I'm finer than a frog's hair. Any of you use those kind of similes? You do? Okay, there's one I heard also, one of my favorites. I was more scared than a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs. Do you have a simile that you use? Wait, say it again. If I was doing any better, I'd have to sit on my hands and keep from clapping. This stuff I eat up. I love this. And it's so expressive. The similes, you compare one thing to another, more scared than a porcupine in a balloon factory. These are great. I love these. Anything else you want to share before I cut you loose? All right, feel free to follow me down to my booth. Again, you can scan the code, get free access to all my books. And you can also see the books. They're right there. And should you want to purchase any, I'll be right there to sign them for you. Thank you for coming here. I really appreciate it. I didn't know if anybody would come after yesterday, but thank you. Really appreciate it. And thank you, everybody sitting there at the airport waiting for your flight. I know a lot of you said you would tune in, and I'm not able to chat with you. I'm so sorry, but you can always email me at david@slangman.com. I will answer you right away. Thank you so much. Now we'll see how to turn this thing off.